What's going on, everyone? Mr. Phil Am here, and we are currently doing a little bit of, I would say, urban fishing, sorta. That's because we're not out on the coast today. We're not doing any rock fishing. What we're doing is we're actually doing some surf fishing because, again, if you guys missed the last video that I had, I got new gear, and of course, I want to test it out. So this is exactly what we're doing now. Before I started doing any type of rock fishing, before I got into that sport, I normally just do surf fishing like this. And this is how I got introduced to pretty much doing any inshore type of fishing. My expertise was this previously until I moved on to a more advanced type of fishing from the bank, which is rock fishing. Now that one takes a little bit more planning to do. This one, not so much, because you're really just casting out, and it doesn't matter what kind of weather you have as long as you're not at treacherous spots. But all in all, this is hopefully gonna be a good day, and hopefully we catch something over here, which is a usual spot that, you know, me, family members and friends normally go to. So hopefully we catch something. Right now the water is good. It's not super windy, it's not super hot either, just on the tad bit on the cold side, but the sun is out, which is great, and we're right here by the bay, so hopefully we catch some fish. Now let's go over what I normally bring when I'm surf fishing from the bank. But first things first, I got my handy dandy backpack here. Nothing special, just got it at a sporting goods store, so it's not like a fishing backpack or anything, but I turned it into that. I can go over this if you guys want me to. So if you guys want me to go over more in detail of what I put in my backpack, depending on what type of fishing I'm doing, let me know in the comment section. Anyways, this has all this stuff that I primarily need for the most part for the day. Then of course my tackle box here. Now I don't normally use these lures because these have all the lures that I normally use for rock fishing, but I'm not using that tonight or today. Wire cutters, these are great. These are pit bull cutters, they're really good. Then of course I have my line that I need. This is a mono, it's a 20-pound mono, so that's my leader line. And of course squid. Now this type of squid, by the way, you don't consume. It says right here, not for human consumption, so don't eat it. And of course water, our fishing pole right there. And again, if you guys missed my video, this has a bait runner right here, and they call it bite and run. I just call it bait runner. So I set that, and then that thing will take off and will let me know if there's a fish. So for those of you who don't know what a bait runner is, basically a bait runner reel has two drag. One, your main drag, which is your fighting drag, and then of course you have your loose drag that you can set. That way when the fish bites and run with your lure or your bait, then it's not as tight, so it won't your pole won't go flying into the water, and then you'll just basically have the fish run. So what do I do in the meantime when I'm waiting for the fish to bite? Well, a couple of things that I normally do, and most people do, is I get on my cell phone, check emails, right, do all that type of stuff, or anything else. Maybe I watch videos, I don't know, but for the most part it's because we're literally just waiting for our lure or our bait to get bit, and then our lines start running. Another thing that I normally do is I would look at my line, or the tip of my line, and watch from time to time. I'll take a look to see if I'm getting any nibbles and bites. Normally, depending on the area, like for example here, I know that there's crab here. Literally crab would nip on my bait, so from time to time it's good to check your bait to see if sometimes crab will literally nip into that and tear it to pieces, and before you know it, you don't have any more bait when you think you do. So another thing too that I do normally when I'm out and about like this is that I'll just either start exploring, literally. Now eventually I'm actually going to get a secondary pole where I could just kind of surf fish a little bit, throw some lures out into the water. Now I could do that today, but I didn't feel like doing that. So while this pole is in the water, that bank is accessible, I can go towards that bank and then literally just work this bank to see if there's any other fish that may be swimming around that will hit my lure instead of having a live bait. So you could do that. Now keep in mind though, depending on the regulation of your state and my state, you have to get a secondary fishing pole license. Meaning if you have a 2-pole license, you can have 2 poles in the water at the same time. Like for example, this live bait one is in the water, and then I can go out in the bank and cast out as I wait for this live bait to start getting hit. Then I can just keep on fishing. Now what's really cool about this type of fishing also that I forgot to mention is that you can do it with your family, right? Because really all you're doing is casting out, wait. If it bites, cool, you fight, then release the fish or keep the fish. And after that, put another bait out, cast it out, and then wait again. And the reason why I'm talking to you guys right now, as I sit here, as I watch law enforcement over there, I see law enforcement right there, and other boats, is because again, I'm really just waiting here. All right, I'll see you guys when I catch a fish.
One eternity later.
All right, let's double check our line because I saw a thumb. That was weird. I saw it bend a little, so something hit it, and whether or not that is a fish, and more than likely a crab. Oh, I do have a fish. What the? Oh, cool. It's a smelt. Awesome. I was like, it started fighting after. That's cool. These are called smelt. They're good bait, actually. But I personally don't like doing anything with these things. So I'm just going to release this fish. But awesome catch, actually. Look at that. Pretty cool. Anyways, we got a fish. Cool. I didn't even know we had one. This water is cold. That was actually a pretty big smelt, to be honest. I mean, I was expecting something more, but it's weird because when I was reeling in, I could see my line. Actually, as a matter of fact, before I reeled in, I could see the tip of my line just tunk tunk. I reeled in and thinking that, oh, maybe it's just crab. Nope. It's a fish. All right, hopefully audio is not RIP today, but anywho, you know, I've never caught a smelt actually. I think that was my first time catching a smelt. Off to the next one. That was the first fish this thing ever caught. Turn on the bait runner, let it do its thing. So again, normally once I cast out and I wait for that particular line to get hit, I would normally go along this bank right here, which is like perfect, and I just start casting out with my line. So yeah, so while I'm waiting for that to hit, and as you can see, I can be far away from my pole because that thing will start singing. And that's what I love about the bait runner, is that you set that thing and it is good to go. It'll start singing. It'll literally be like zing. So yeah, so I can go along this bank right here. I can explore just like what I'm doing right now. The one thing about surf fishing or this type of fishing though is that once you start casting at a certain spot and then you start feeding wildlife or creatures of the sea in that one spot, a lot of creatures would start congregating around that spot, especially if there's crab. If there's crab around that area, so crab would normally start nipping on your bait, and once it's nipping on the bait, other crab will congregate. That will attract bigger species of fish, primarily rays and leopard shark. So we need to catch one of those. But we caught a smelt, so first fish that thing ever caught is a smelt. So another thing I like to do is that since it's a windy day also, here's a tip. When your line start loosening up due to the wind, what I normally do is I would take this, tighten it up just a smidge, just like that, put it down, and then turn it back on. And the reason for that is because when a fish bites it, it'll run. However, it's still good to have your line tight as well. Well, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. We caught just one fish. We didn't really have a whole lot of bites, but it was more of me getting that reel and that pole out there, and I'm glad I at least caught one fish, which is the weirdest thing because I've never caught a smelt before. Hopefully next time I come and do this type of surf fishing, I catch bigger fish. Normally I catch stingrays and leopard sharks here, but unfortunately that's not the case today, and it is gonna start getting later, or it's gonna start getting late, so I have to head home. One more thing I do want to mention about fishing in places like this: there are public shores where you don't necessarily need a fishing license. However, I have a fishing license, of course, and I buy them on a year-round basis. But here you will be able to see that there's signs that says public fishing or public shore, which means that you don't necessarily need a fishing license in that particular area. However, make sure to check your regulations always, depending on where you live, depending on your state. So again, always check that. Until next time, folks, my name is Mr. Phil Lamb. I'll see you guys in the next fishing adventure. Tight lines.